Hey everyone, Agent Slumber here, and welcome to another episode of From Beginner to Heroic, this time Volume 3 Hero Mastery. Let's go! Chapter 1. What is Hero Mastery? Hero Mastery is how well you know your hero with regards to your hero abilities, your identity specific cards, and your game plan. The better you know all of the above, the better decisions you will be able to make during and even before the game. And we're going to do a deep dive and explain each of these, and we're going to show you some examples as well. So chapter 2, game plan. Once you have a good understanding of the hero that you are playing, you can formulate a game plan ahead of time. Having a good game plan will affect both your deck building and the decisions you make in-game. Now, I know this is a very general advice and it's hard to understand exactly what I mean, so this is why I prepared a very detailed example that we can go over. So let's do that. Chapter 3, example time. We're gonna discuss Ironheart, obviously, because if you ever watched any of my videos, you know I'm a huge Ironheart fan. She's my favorite character. So if you don't know Ironheart, let's do a bit of an explanation on how she works. She starts with this version 1 hero form, and she has only 4 hand size and 10 hit points, right? So 4 hand size is very, very low for a hero. However, she has these progress counters that she can gain either by spending a mental resource on her alter ego form or by playing specific cards, her identity specific cards, that give her some progress counters. Once she gains 6 of them, you can spend them in order to ready her and swap her with version 2. Version 2 is stronger. It has 2 thwart and 5 hand size, which is much better. Then if you can gain another 6 counters, you can go to version 3, which is extremely powerful. It has 3 thwart and a hand size of 6, which is above average. It's very, very good. Plus she gains a new ability that lets her to spend progress counters in order to deal damage to enemies. So early game she's not very good, but late game she's super, super strong, right? So this is Ironheart, just a general overview so you'll know what I'm talking about. So after I explained, let's look at Ironheart's strength. She is very strong late game once she reaches version 3. She has a very good basic defense, right? She has a defense of 3, which is honestly above average and can be very helpful early game. And she has decent thwart and attack events. I didn't go over all of her events here, but if you go look at her cards, she has some decent events that will help with thwart and attack. What are her weaknesses? Well, she has a very weak early game, like we discussed. She has a small hand size and low thwarting, which could be an issue against a lot of villains. Plus, she takes time to build up. So some heroes, start very strong, she starts kind of weak, and it can take a few turns to reach version 2 and 3. Okay, we're gonna keep talking about Ironheart here. So how do we translate all of this into a game plan? You need to ask yourself 2 questions. Question 1, what is your goal when you're playing her? So if we take Ironheart as the example, right? Reaching version 3 as soon as you can to take advantage of a strong late game, right? That's your goal. You want to get to version 3 as quickly as you can so you can feel strong and be able to deal with a lot of threats. The second question you should ask yourself is, how do you get there? How do you achieve your goal? So in this case, you achieve it by survive the early stages of the game while getting as many progress counters as you can, right? This should be your only focus early game. Survive and gain as many progress counters as you can. It's less important to build up, support and like Helicarrier, for example, or Avengers Mansion. It's more important to just start getting those progress counters and make sure you don't die. If you are able to do that, you will reach your goal and you will be able to win most of the time. So thinking about your goal and how you want to reach it establishes the guidelines of which you can later follow for deck building and making in-game decisions. And we're gonna discuss it. So we're gonna talk about deck building, chapter 4. Building a deck without hero mastery, which means without knowing what your goal is and what you want to do, is kind of like shooting while blindfolded. You may get a few lucky hits, but there's a good chance that you'll have a lot of misses too. You need to take into consideration what's the goal of the deck and what you're trying to accomplish. If we continue with our Ironheart example, having too many low tempo cards that require a while to set up directly contradicts our goal of reaching version 3 ASAP and hurts our chances of winning. If you don't know what I mean by low tempo cards, first of all, go watch the previous episode where I discussed tempo. But what I mean is cards that take a long time to set up and don't affect the board immediately. Cards like Helicarrier or Avengers Mansion, for example. And I do like to mention, this is just a short summary of deck building advice. I will have a dedicated chapter about deck building, and I might even do a separate guide, not with the from beginner to heroic video series, but just a completely separate guide where I discuss deck building, how to use Marvel Champions DB.com, and also how do I build decks. Maybe I'll even show an actual example of me building a deck. If that's something that interests you, let me know in the comments below, and yeah, and if enough people want to see it, I'll definitely do something like that. Okay, chapter 5, be flexible. When piloting a hero, it's important to remain flexible with your decisions. While you are trying to follow a certain game plan and play in a specific way, sometimes the board state requires you to break that game plan. What do I mean? For example, when playing a high-tempo hero that likes to rush the villain, you may need to spend your turn dealing with a nasty side scheme that can ruin your game plan if you don't deal with it quickly. Right, so if there's a side scheme in play, for example, that gives each minion that comes out surge, and you know you won't be able to defeat the villain in the next 2 rounds, if you don't deal with that side scheme, it doesn't matter that you want to rush the villain. It can just snowball out of control very quickly. So although you don't want to deal with a side scheme when you're trying to rush the villain, it's kind of losing tempo in a way. It's something you have to do sometimes. So try to be flexible, look at the board, think about what is your best move every turn. If you can follow your game plan, that's amazing. Your game plan should be your North Star, right? This is what you should be trying to achieve all the time and what you're trying to think about. If you have to make a decision and you are not sure what to do, usually following your game plan and your North Star is the right and correct decision. Now, again, you have to be flexible. You have to see if there's anything else that you need to take care of before trying to achieve your game plan. Otherwise, you might just lose in a way that you didn't expect or didn't think about. I hope that made sense. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. And like I said earlier, if you want to see a deck building episode, or maybe even a separate one where I build a deck and you can see me building a deck and how I think about it, let me know and I'll definitely do one. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.